Hi everyone, my name is Cyrus Jansen. I'm an American expat, and in this video we're going to be discussing the new national security law that will be implemented in Hong Kong within the next couple of weeks. Now, if you're watching international headlines around the world, you've seen stories like this that are saying this is the end of Hong Kong. The city of Hong Kong as we know it has officially come to an end. It's been a very bleak outlook for the city of Hong Kong. However, I want to provide a little bit of substance and a little bit more insights into what this new security law will mean for the city of Hong Kong and give some predictions on what I feel the future of Hong Kong will look like. So stay tuned. Now, as we get going in this video, I think it's very important for everyone to understand that the new security law deals directly with Article 23 of the Hong Kong Basic Law. Now, for those of you unfamiliar with Article 23, here's what it states: that the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region shall enact laws on its own to prohibit any act of treason, secession, sedition, subversion against the Central People's Government. Now, just to be clear, the Central People's Government is the government in Beijing. Or theft of state secrets, and to prohibit foreign political organizations or bodies from conducting political activities in the region. Now, to further understand this, let's look at a very brief timeline of Article 23. In 1984, the United Kingdom and China came together in Hong Kong and signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration. And what that stated is that when Hong Kong returns to China in 1997, that the city of Hong Kong would enjoy 50 years of essentially no changes. So all the way through 2047, that essentially the political system and the life as they know it in Hong Kong would not change to what mainland China has. Now, in 2003, the Hong Kong government did propose to pass Article 23 in a bill. However, that bill failed, and here we are now today where we are looking at 2020, where Article 23 will be implemented. Now, it's very important to realize that the national security law is being implemented now because Hong Kong has been devastated from a series of political protests that have turned very violent over the last year. Now, whether you're for the protest or against the protest, there's one thing that basically everybody can agree on, and that is the fact that there has been a tremendous amount of foreign interference in the matters of Hong Kong. Last year, we had Senator Ted Cruz from Texas and Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri both fly out to Hong Kong, spending time in the city talking to protesters and getting involved. Now, with the United States senators flying out to Hong Kong and supporting the protesters, a lot of them decided to reach out to America even further. Here's a great example of a protester holding up a sign, "U.S. troops, please for help to protect the Hong Kong people." And just last year, this is another group of protesters that are waving American flags, singing the Star-Spangled Banner, and asking President Trump, please liberate Hong Kong. Now, I find this really interesting because, as we all know, Hong Kong is an international city, it's a financial hub, and it's a very prosperous city. And since the handover in 1997, when Hong Kong was handed back to China, the city of Hong Kong has actually prospered very well. And it's reflected recently in the 2019 Human Freedom Index. The Human Freedom Index is an independent study that examines all these countries and territories and cities around the world and basically determines which ones are have the most freedom. Now, we can see on this list, now again, this is from 2019, Hong Kong ranks as the number 3rd place in the world, just behind New Zealand and Switzerland, for freedom. Now, it's really unusual to me that we're seeing Hong Kong protesters who are coming from a city that ranks number 3 in the world, and they are basically asking America, who by the way ranks number 17 on this list, to liberate them. Now, to add fuel to the fire, we have people like Gordon Chang, who writes this on his Twitter: "Let's remember what we Americans have at stake on the streets of Hong Kong. The regime that is taking away the territory's autonomy is attacking our democracy every day. Hong Kong, therefore, is the front line of our freedom. Hashtag stand with Hong Kong." Now, if you don't know Gordon Chang, he's best known for writing this book, The Coming Collapse of China. This was actually written in 2001, so almost a full 20 years ago, and Gordon Chang, seemingly every few years he comes out and he is preaching the same message over and over again. It's essentially this, is that unless China immediately adopts a democracy, the entire economy of China, will collapse, the entire country will collapse, and China will be left in the ruins. Now, he's been calling for this to happen for almost 20 years now, and we can see that anybody that actually follows economics or what's actually happening in the world, we can see that China is continuing to improve every single year. It's getting stronger, it's getting faster, it's getting better, it's getting smarter. And the reality is that Gordon Chang couldn't be more wrong about China, and it's a very simple fact. China will overtake the United States as the #1 economic power in the world by 2025. Now we can see that there's a tremendous amount of foreign interference happening in Hong Kong right now, and it even prompted a recent story in the South China Morning Post entitled this: "Is Hong Kong American or a Chinese territory? Beijing's new national security law seeks to set that straight." Now I want to take it back to Gordon Chang's tweet, and I want to examine a very important thing that he said. "The regime that is taking away the territory's autonomy is attacking our democracy every day." Gordon Chang is under the belief that essentially mainland China is going after Hong Kong. They're going to destroy Hong Kong, and after they destroy Hong Kong, China is now going to set out, take over the world, and you know what? You know who their next victim is going to be? It's more than likely going to be the United States of America. And I think when somebody has this opinion that China is trying to dominate and take over the world, you just don't really understand China at all. You see, China really doesn't care about other nations having a democracy. They just don't want other nations coming into China and telling them how to run their country. That is the biggest thing with China's foreign policy. And for you to understand that, you must go back in time. You must learn about Chinese history. You need to learn about the Boxers' Rebellion that happened in the early 1900s when they had many foreign nations coming into China and overtaking the government in China. You need to learn about the Nanjing Massacre when the Japanese came in and killed hundreds of thousands of Chinese. This is a really big, almost I would say the cornerstone of Chinese culture, is that they do not appreciate foreign countries coming in and telling them what to do. So when Gordon Chang is coming and saying that China is going to take over Hong Kong and they're now going to take over the United States as well, it couldn't be farther from the truth. Number one, Hong Kong is part of China. Hong Kong is not an independent country. China is basically governing one of its cities. Okay? Hong Kong is, was, and always will be part of China. So for China to come in and say, look, Hong Kong right now is politically unstable. There's a lot of danger in the streets. There's a lot of domestic terrorism going on. You know, that is something that is totally under China's jurisdiction. Now, I think some people might be watching this video and they might be thinking, you know, Cyrus, you're American. You should be standing with democracy. You should be standing with the people of Hong Kong because, you know, you're American. You believe in democracy. Well, you know what? I am American, and I'm very proud of the country that I come from, and I do realize that democracy is the type of government that works for America. However, I've traveled around the world, and in my 13 years of being an American expat, I also realized that the world is too unique and too diverse for only one type of government to exist. I also am under the big belief that as an American, you know, we should be focusing on making our own country better. You know, America has enough social problems and enough problems that we need to solve ourselves. We don't need to involve ourselves in other countries' problems. So right now, again, Hong Kong is a city that ranks number 3 on the World Freedom Index. Now, for those of you that have watched my YouTube videos before, you know that I stand for 2 principles. Number 1 is I think that the world works better when China and the United States can have a good relationship together. To me, it just makes sense. The world needs the number 1 and 2 world powers working together. When that happens, it's a win-win for every other nation in the world. The second point is that I don't stand for violence of any kind. Now, the entire world has been in a recession for the past few months due to the COVID-19 lockdown, but the city of Hong Kong has actually had it a lot worse because before COVID-19 happened, there was a political protest for 8 months. So essentially, Hong Kong has been doubly hit. Now, earlier this year, foreign arrivals into Hong Kong was down 99%. There was a period of 1 week in Hong Kong where arrivals into the city were less than 3,000 people per day. As a result, we can see that many industries are, being affected in Hong Kong. Everything from the airlines, hotels, retail shops, everything involved. Everything is being involved. Everything is on the downward trend in Hong Kong because of these political protests that have turned violent. Now, as we conclude this video, I want people to understand that a lot of people in Hong Kong are actually very excited about the national security law. For many people, it's going to finally bring some peace and stability to a city that has been just ravished by these political protests. Now, in closing, I do want to say this, is that I know that many of the Hong Kong protesters out there really look to America as really their symbol of freedom and the country that they most want to emulate. And as an American citizen, I just want everybody to know that we also have national security laws that have been implemented in America. Many of you have probably heard of the Patriot Act, and we also have the Homeland Security Act that was passed in 2002, directly after 9/11. And what the goal of this is to prevent terrorist attacks within the United States. So everybody, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I do believe that brighter days are ahead from Hong Kong. I do not believe that China is going to simply turn Hong Kong into another Chinese city. And the reason for that is very simple. China already has a lot of Chinese cities. Okay? Hong Kong is a special autonomous region. The city of, Beijing's government benefits tremendously from the trade deals, and the special status that Hong Kong enjoys. So it's in their best interest to go ahead and keep this autonomous region, to allow them the freedoms. But there's one thing that they cannot have, and that is violence, and that is what this new national security law is going to hopefully end for the city of Hong Kong. So brighter days ahead for Hong Kong. I'm very bullish again about the city of Hong Kong, and I'm very happy that this eventually that this very soon is going to be able to bring some peace and stability to a city that has been rocked by protest and COVID for the last 12 months. So everybody, I want to thank you for watching this video. If you're new to my channel, I would love for you to hit that subscribe button. I'm doing weekly vlogs about life in China, about business in China, and how China reacts on this world stage. Whether you like China or not, it is going to be a part of our lives for the foreseeable future, so we might as well learn about it together. Again, my name is Cyrus. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you in the next video.